1989 may well be remembered as the year of natural disasters, but for Tom Beck, his assistants, his players, and the entire Laker community, it will long be remembered as the greatest year in Grand Valley football history. From the season opening kickoff to the final gun in the NCAA Division II playoffs, the Lakers showed what hard work and teamwork result in. Picked by the league's coaches to win it all in '89, the Lakers didn't disappoint anyone as they rolled to a perfect 11-0 regular season and a 5-0 conference mark, allowing them to capture their first conference championship since 1981. In the year that saw Grand Valley establish 44 individual season and team records, the Lakers ran off 14 straight victories dating back to last season. Along that 14-game streak, memorable moments included ending a 13-year stronghold by Northern Michigan 38-14, the capturing of the GLIAC crown against Hillsdale 31-17, the lambasting of Valparaiso 91-0, and earning a trip to the NCAA national playoffs. For most of the 12 opponents Grand Valley faced, watching the Lakers' offensive firepower was like watching a bomb explode. Finishing the regular season as the nation's highest-scoring team with 44 points a game, the Lakers averaged 480 yards of total offense, which was also an NCAA standard for the year. With perhaps one of the finest Division II quarterbacking duos in the country in the form of sophomore Jack Hall and junior Robert Hunt, Grand Valley's offensive explosion was led like no other. Hall, last year's GLIAC Freshman of the Year, picked up where he left off. On the year, the Addison, Illinois native connected on 106 of 154 passes, breaking the school record for completion percentage. Hall, who was picked by the league's coaches as the best quarterback, was not the only arsenal Tom Beck's squad had to offer. Hunt of Detroit was the Lakers' answer to a spark plug. Known for his rocket arm and missile-like speed, Hunt passed for 751 yards and 8 touchdowns. Providing the necessary protection and the Mac-like truck holes for the backfield was Grand Valley's answer to a Big Ten-like offensive line made up of seniors Dave Beebe and Andy Gedeke and sophomores Bill McGorry, Mark Smith, and Chris Teedy. Through the 11-game regular season, the offensive line allowed Grand Valley to score 40 out of 41 times inside the 10-yard line. Averaging 6'4", 281 across the front, the Laker Trenchmen paved the way to a school record 5,289 total offensive yards and an average of 5.8 yards per carry. Bertrand native Beebe was named to the league's first team, as was Auburn native Teedy. Gedeke of Bath was a second-team selection. When you mention consistency, the names Isaiah Livesey, Eric Lynch, Jamaro Island, Steve Bruner, Anthony Evans, and Faoud Zabin have to pop up. Ike Livesey, one half of the Ellendale Express, rushed for a team-high 1,013 yards and 9 touchdowns. He is the first Laker to rush for 1,000 yards since 1976. The Southfield Bo Jackson clone caught 34 passes for 409 yards and averaged 6 yards a carry. He was also a first-team All-League selection. Lynch, the other half of the Ellendale Express, has already rewritten Grand Valley scoring records. The sophomore power back, capable of carrying 3 to 4 defenders at a time, set marks for season scoring, touchdowns in a season, and career touchdowns. The Woodhaven sophomore also set conference marks for most points scored and touchdowns. For his efforts, Lynch was named to the league's first team, and he was also selected as the GLIAC's top offensive player. Island from Detroit, Evans from Benton Harbor, and Zabin from Dearborn provided more than adequate relief support, as did Lansing product Bruner. When the ball was not being transported on the ground, the Laker receivers were grabbing passes with extreme confidence. Sophomore Bob Mitchell of Bloomfield Hills was named to the league's first team and tied a Grand Valley record for receptions in a season. His 735 yards also led all Laker receivers. Senior tight end Alex Boyce of York, Illinois was a second-team league selection and grabbed 24 passes for 260 yards and 7 touchdowns. Sophomores Michael Short of Albion and Ted Monken of Wheaton, Illinois combined to give the Lakers a well-rounded and respected receiving corps. Lakers scoring would not be complete, though, without the foot of Mr. Accuracy, Miguel Seguero. The freshman place kicker from Spain set an NCAA and school record with 65 extra points in the season. He also set standards for extra points attempted and made in a game. He, too, was a first-team All-League selection. While the offense was leading the nation in scoring and total offense, the defense was living up to its half of the old saying, offense wins games, but defense wins championships. Week in and week out, the Laker defense annihilated and destroyed schemes presented by opposing offenses. With the installation of a new-look, more aggressive 4-3 defense, the Laker D held opponents to a mere average 13 points per game. In Great Lakes Conference play, that number shrunk to 11 as Grand Valley allowed just 58 points in 5 league contests. As a unit, the Laker defense recorded 864 tackles, 55 of which were for losses. Among those ruining opposing offensive attacks were Belvedere, Illinois senior defensive tackle Todd Tracy, who registered 64 tackles and a season-high record 19 tackles for losses. Tracy was selected as the Great Lakes Conference Defensive Player of the Year. Tracy wasn't the only Laker setting up camp in offensive backfields. Junior end Mark Bland of Detroit registered 41 tackles and a team-high 11 quarterback sacks and earned first-team league honors. Freshman end Ben Lewikowski of Grand Rapids picked up 33 tackles, 4 for losses, and was the second-team league selection, while sophomore tackle Jim Kramer of Mokina, Illinois, recorded 47 tackles and 5 quarterback sacks. While runs were being stifled in opponents' backfields, the same was true about passes in the secondary. With their veteran-laden backfield, the Lakers used their experience and shadow defense technique to nab 21 passes and break up a school record 42 passes. Patrolling and controlling the secondary were senior linebacker Rick Schmuckel, who was credited with 67 tackles and 2 interceptions, and the likes of fellow linebackers juniors Robert Bell, Bart Duffield, and Charles Scipio, and sophomores Bill Smith and Brian Cook. Schmuckel of Traverse City was an honorable mention all-league selection. Bell of Grand Rapids recorded 51 tackles and was a second-team pick. Duffield of Drayton Plains was in on 50 tackles, while Scipio of Chandler, Arizona racked up a team-high 70 tackles and 1 interception, good enough for a first-team all-league position. Smith of Ludington provided 49 tackles, and Cook of Hillsdale was in on 38 tackles and was named to the league's honorable mention squad. While experience was plentiful in the linebacking area, the same was true in the defensive back and safety positions. Manning the flats was the senior tandem of Seamus O'Keefe and Mike Slazinski, junior Mike Flannery, sophomores Todd Wood and Ken Marnin, and freshmen James Butler and John Jackson. O'Keefe was in on 41 tackles and grabbed 4 interceptions and was named to the league's second team. Slazinski of Southfield was right behind O'Keefe with 40 tackles and 2 interceptions and was an honorable mention selection. Flannery of Dearborn chalked up 31 tackles and 4 interceptions. Perhaps the most pleasant surprise was the play of Wood. The 6-footer from Jenison was named to the league's first team for 62 tackles and 10 pass breakups. Barnon of Sterling Heights and Butler of Chicago provided necessary relief support, while Jackson of Lake Forest, Illinois picked off a team-high 5 passes. The words success, teamwork, and champions may be just that, words. But to the 1989 Grand Valley Lakers, they are much more than that. They are words with meanings and are words to live by. They are the words that winners speak.